Today we're going to talk about parallel structure. It's a term you often find, and I've put it in papers that I've marked up written by students to say you have not used parallel structure here, or to recommend that you use parallel structure for a stronger paragraph or a stronger sentence or a stronger essay overall. It's a very good device, but it's often misunderstood, even by good writers. So let's talk about what parallel structure is. It's actually very simple, and we're going to use the Purdue OWL Online Writing Lab handout to kind of walk through this and give you examples that I think will be very clear in showing you what parallel structure is and how to fix it when you haven't used parallel structure that is appropriate. So let's just look down here. First of all, we have a definition that says parallel structure means using the same pattern of words to show that two or more ideas have the same level of importance. So you see, parallelism or parallel structure is important to show that you are saying something that means that the ideas or the phrases have equal standing and equal importance in your context. So this can happen one word at a time, or in the phrase level or the clause level, and we'll go through several of these to show you the difference. The usual way to join parallel structures is with the use of a coordinating conjunction like and or. So let's look at examples. That's where it'll become clear what's going on with this particular phenomenon of writing. So in words and phrases, we're going to use the gerund ending here, the ing ending, to illustrate how you can keep your words in parallel form so that they all have equal importance. So if we say, for example, Mary likes hiking, swimming, and bicycling, we're using a gerund in each of those activities, the ing ending, so they're parallel. Now, with infinitive phrases, we can do the same thing. And we can just make that sentence a little different. Mary likes to hike, to swim, and to ride a bicycle. Or Mary likes to hike, swim, and ride a bicycle. Okay, so there you can see that we've used a parallel structure. We've used the to form, or we have used the ing ending form to make the words in that sentence line up in a parallel sort of way. Note, it says here you can use to before all of the verbs in a sentence, or only before the first one. So that gives you a little more flexibility in how you want to phrase it. If you want to be a little more efficient, Mary likes to hike, swim, and ride a bicycle. That gets you right through that point. If you want to labor it a little more, belabor it a little more, to hike, to swim, and to ride a bicycle. There's a difference in the tone of that. Okay, do not mix the forms, it says next. And we have two examples that show us how mixing the forms doesn't work. So here's the form in example 1 that is not parallel. Mary likes hiking, swimming, and to ride a bicycle. So we've mixed the infinitive with the gerund ending here, and it is not parallel. It jars a little bit when you read it. So the parallel structure is easily accomplished by just going, in this case, we've chosen to go to the gerund ending. Mary likes hiking, swimming, and riding a bicycle, our first example up above. In example 2, the non-parallel structure is equally evident here in words. The production manager was asked to write his report quickly, accurately, and in a detailed manner. So that obviously is not parallel, and we can see in red the non-parallel element of it, and it's quickly and easily fixed by rewriting it as the production manager was asked to write his report quickly, accurately, and thoroughly. So you can see how easy it is to fix these things. You do have to look for them. You have to find them, and you have to be conscious of the fact that you should be parallel in your structures. Example 3, the not parallel example here. The teacher said that he was a poor student because he waited until the last minute to study for the exam, completed his lab problems in a careless manner, and his motivation was low. It changes the flow of that sentence, and it distracts the reader. So easily fixed by changing the last phrasing there to and lacked motivation. Okay? Instead of his motivation was low. It's actually a more efficient way to say it, and the fewer words always, I think, strengthens a sentence as well. In clauses, we have the same principle. The parallel structure that begins with clauses must keep on with clauses. Changing to another pattern or changing the voice of the verb from active to passive or vice versa will break the parallelism. Now, we've talked about active voice and passive voice. When you mix the two, it's really not a good idea, and it's very poor style. So here's the example that shows how that plays out when you do it wrong. The coach told the players that they should get a lot of sleep, that they should not eat too much, and to do some warm-up exercises before the game. Now, that doesn't sound all that bad. It doesn't really look all that bad, but it is a difference, and it changes the reader's flow, and the process of reading becomes broken there by changing to do some warm-up exercises from they should get kind of thing. So, if we make it parallel, they should get a lot of sleep, that they should not eat, and that they should do some warm-up exercises before the game. Very simple. Or you could do it this way. The coach told the players that they should get a lot of sleep, not eat too much, and do some warm-up exercises before the game. That's even better, because then you kind of, again, economize on words here and make your sentence a little bit stronger, I think. But we've gotten rid of the problem of the lack of parallel structure in these clauses. Now here's another example in which we don't have a parallel construction. We have a passive voice mixed with the active voice. The salesman expected that he would present his product at the meeting, that there would be time for him to show his slide presentation, and that the questions would be asked by prospective buyers, and that questions would be asked by prospective buyers. So we switched from active voice of the verb, would present, he acting, as opposed to questions would be asked, and the subject of that clause becomes the questions, and they would be asked, so they'd be acted upon. That's the difference between our passive and active voices. And it's not parallel, and it's not good, and so we simply switch to the active voice for that last clause, and we have, and that prospective buyers would ask him questions. So the buyers are in the subject form. The subject, the buyers, are acting. They're asking him questions. Same thing applies to lists after a colon. Be sure to keep the elements in the same form. Here's the non-parallel activity. The dictionary can be used for these purposes: colon, to find word meanings, pronunciations, correct spellings, and looking up irregular verbs. No, I don't think so. That doesn't sound right. All of a sudden we've shifted. So, easily fixed. The dictionary can be used for these purposes: to find word meanings, pronunciations, correct spellings, and irregular verbs. Very simple to make those constructions parallel. But in many instances, if you're not paying attention and looking for this sort of thing, you can make the mistake, and you kind of shift in your thinking, and you are putting your sentence together over a period of time. Sometimes you end up destroying your parallel structure there. And so you want to go back over your writing and make sure that you have parallel structures throughout. It just makes your writing stronger, it makes it more effective, and it doesn't distract the reader. So skim your paper, look at words like and, or, make sure that the items on either side of those are parallel, and if not, make them parallel. And if you have several items on a list, make sure they are parallel. You can put them in a column, it says here. And listen to the sound of the items in a list, or the items being compared. Do you hear the same kinds of sounds? And that's kind of the crux of the matter here, really. If it doesn't sound the same, it's very distracting. Is there a series of ing words, ing words, beginning each item? Or do you hear a rhythm being repeated? If something is breaking that rhythm, or the repetition of sound, check to see if it needs to be made parallel. It's a very simple concept, a very easily corrected error when you make it, but it's often ignored and not really looked for. And if you just look through your writing and look for these parallel constructions and make sure they are all lined up and parallel in series or in clauses and word series, you'll be fine, and you'll strengthen your writing in a very simple and easily solved kind of approach. That will end this lecture, and I'll see you next time.